Welcome, Chapter 1, Access Control Framework. Organizations rely upon access control to grant and restrict user access to information, systems, and other resources. Access control systems, when properly designed, implement business rules and often direct implementation of policies in such a manner that individuals have access to the information and resources. The consequences of not having access control, or a weak one: inconvenience, downright disastrous, depending on the nature of that. Hackers can get in and destroy your company. So we're going to look at what is access control, the principal components of access control, the 3 stages, and some logical things in authentication. Access control. What is access? Access refers to the ability to subject an object or interact. Their interaction is the basis of everything we do. Both the information technology and access can be defined in terms of rules, physical barriers, and information. What is access control? And the formalization of those rules for allowing or denying access. Access control defines the allowability interaction between subjects and objects. It's based on gathering of rights, privileges, what we have. Identity management is the process of creating, maintaining, and revoking users' accounts and privileges, and the mechanism used to authenticate users. Principal components of access controls: policy, the rules that govern who can have access to resources; subjects, the user's network, process, and application requesting access to resources; the resources to which subjects desire access; policy, a clear statement of business requirements, procedures, and non-technical methods such as a business process and background; and tools, technical methods. Access control subjects: authorized, unauthorized, unknown. Authorized, those who have presented authentication credentials can get in. Unauthorized, those who do not have that. So how do we get in? Authentication, ensuring users are who they claim to be. Authorization, ensuring the authentication user is allowed to perform that requested thing. And accounting, maintaining records. So we're going to look at network. Is the subject when a resource is on one network, request access a resource to another. Systems. Information is any type of data set, technology, application, systems, and networks, and a physical location. Identification. The system must be able to label to those parts of the access. Human might easily be Bethlehem as an individual name, but the computer needs a more logical name. Who they are. Authentication. Built upon the identification by requiring the subject proof of identity, password, a token, or fingerprint scan, or multi-factor now. So what do we need? Something you know, generally a password; something you have, a token; something you are fingerprints. These are some of the different things that we can look at. Authorization. Once the subject has been identified, access control system authenticates the system's identity, and access is now authorized to do what they were going to do. Most logical access control. Most IT professionals spend their time focusing on logic access controls, the tools used to provide identification, authentication, and authorization for the computer systems. Logic access controls can be based on more than one criteria. Who, the identity of the object proven with the username and password. What, the type of access being requested, the time of day or the week that request is made. Where, the physical location, and how. These are all different aspects that we can look at. When is if we work 9 to 5 and someone's logging in at 1 a.m., well, that could be a problem, or logging in on a weekend. We can prevent this by setting up our information. Group-based access control. We can set people up in groups that we'll talk more about in the class. Data element. What do they have access to? Just enter tables, databases, application systems, operating systems. All this can be controlled, and we want to have strong policies to make sure we can set that up. Authentication, something you know. Your password, something you have. These, again, some things that we can set up in advance. This is a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at. The purpose of access control is to regulate interactions and subjects such as human and user and such as data, network, or device. The key difference between the subject and the object is passivity. The subjects act upon passive objects. There are three key components: identification, authentication, and authorization. First, both the subject and object must be identified. Second, the subject identified must be proven, authenticated. Finally, the authentication subject is authorized to act upon the object. You can establish with this authentication methodologies are based on 3 factors: something you know, something you have, or something you are. Once the subjects are identified, authenticated using one or more of these factors, the authorization system is there. Access control. So this week we're going to be looking at different topics on how businesses are going to be affected, the requirements for protection, information classifications, some business drivers, and how access control is valued protection. What are we trying to protect? So that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at the different policies and procedures we should have in place. What's the role of senior management in the implementation of those policies? We also want to look at the different schemas, classifications of the data. What's top secret? What's secret? What is confidential? So we're going to be evaluating all that this week also to determine how do we need to handle the data, because obviously something that's classified, very few people should see and have access to, so we're going to be looking into the different areas of that. We're also going to be looking at the government classifications and the private on the different levels that each one needs to go through. Let's see, some of the other things we're looking at. The cost-benefit analysis. What does it take? We're going to weigh out the cost of having everything protected and make sure that it's definitely worth it, because we can put in pricing, we can protect anything at any price, but is it worth it? So we want to look at that also, because there is a return on investment, if you want, that we want to look at. So we're going to be looking at that this week. Some of the other things we want to review is what happens if someone accidentally gets data that they shouldn't have access to. So we want to look at how to handle that. Again, if we're following policy, if we have a good policy and procedure in place, this will help prevent anyone from getting access to data that they shouldn't have, and it helps prevent anyone who shouldn't see the data not see it. So it's really important that we have this in place to make sure that we're following it. So some of the homework we're looking at this week. So our assignments for the week. What we're going to be looking at, we have really just 2 assignments. The first is the discussion question and classification schemas. We're going to look at how the U.S. government classifies sensitive information. And remember that your response is due by Thursday. Should be, and you're going to reply to at least 2 of your classmates. So make sure you push yours up early so we can get some responses going. The other thing you're going to be doing is an assignment for the implementation of classification policy. If you download the Word document, you'll see there's an explanation on page 1 and 2. And then on page 3, you're going to go through and fill out all that information. Strategic planning online. You're going to take your time and say to public, internal, where does it belong, if it's confidential. So you're going to take that and put it all together for me so I can see so you can see the different classifications, how they work. And that is due on Sunday night. And obviously you can look on Blackboard for the directions and make sure everything's turned in. The reading is chapter 2. So when you take a chance, get a chance to read chapter 2, take a look at it. I also posted up the PowerPoints for chapter 2 with a summary of them, so if you want to look at that. And that's kind of what we're covering this week. As just a reminder, our residency is in a few weeks. Please make plans to attend the entire weekend. Friday night we start at 5 p.m. and we go to Sunday at 1. So please make sure you plan that. Have a camera, microphone, your ID. I'll be posting more information up on Blackboard in the upcoming weeks. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Send me an email. We'll get to them as soon as we can. I check the emails every day, so please, if you have any questions or any concerns, please make sure you reach out to me. Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you this week.